I discussed the visit and China's relations in the Middle East with Afshin Molavi of Johns Hopkins University. He's senior fellow at its Foreign Policy Institute.
I think if you look at China's relations with Middle Eastern states, if you were to go to those Middle Eastern states and look at their trade figures, and let's say you go back to the early 1990s, you would see China number 15, number 20, number 25 on their list of trade partners. You go to those same trade figures today, China's number 1, 2, or 3, all across the Middle East, North Africa region. So the economic and commercial relationship has accelerated over the past decade and a half. Then you look at the oil relationship, right? So again, China, early to mid 1990s, the oil, it wasn't importing a lot of oil. Certainly that ramped up. And now you look, and China imports about 50% of its imported oil from the Middle East, headed for 65, 70% over the next 10 or 15 years. In Israel's case, I think they look at China and they see a burgeoning technology country. You know, they look at the Made in China 2025 plan, which looks at the fourth industrial revolution, robotics and artificial intelligence and cloud computing. And Israel says, well, look, we've got a lot of that technology in Israel. We are, in many ways, the startup nation. And so they would like to see some kind of combination of work with China in this fourth industrial revolution. I think when it comes to Saudi Arabia, what they're looking for from China is they're actually looking for more investment, strategic partnerships in oil and gas and petrochemicals. But Saudi Arabia also has a big economic vision 2030 plan, and they're looking for foreign direct investment from China as well.
Let's extend it out further, because Netanyahu said when he met with Premier Li Keqiang, and I want to get the quote just right, there's a great deal of convulsion in the world, including in our part of the world, which no one can disagree with. He said that he hopes that the two countries can cooperate together for the advancement of security, peace and stability and prosperity. Do you see a larger role for China in terms of the peace process?
I think there's a lot of actors in the region waiting for Beijing to play a larger role in the peace process. Thus far, it still has been a Washington game, and Beijing has not yet entered the fray in a serious and substantive way. I think we might see over the next several years Beijing begin to change that, in much the same way that Xi Jinping gave a speech in Davos embracing the mantle of globalization, almost because he had to, because President Donald Trump was retrenching in this process of America First protectionism. The Beijing policymakers may realize that they have to play a more prominent role in Middle East peacemaking, because it doesn't look like the Trump administration is either going to do it or be seen as an honest broker while doing it.
Netanyahu inviting more cooperation, but I'm not sure that the views dovetail, do they? I mean, Israel's views on the Middle East and China's?
No, they don't necessarily dovetail. You're right. I mean, China in particular has a strong relationship with Iran, for example, and Israel, views Iran as a significant threat. Having said that, China has never been asked to choose among Iran or Israel or Saudi Arabia, and China has done a pretty good job of geopolitical diversification, diversifying its relationships, and as long as it's not asked to choose, it can maintain these relationships and pretty robust relationships, because it does have a robust one with Israel as well.